Would Sarah LaLumiere please join me at the podium for a very special introduction?
Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods yet? Are we out of the woods? I have Erin Langdale to thank for introducing me to this annoyingly repetitive song. We were in the car with a group of friends coming home from a spring break trip to the Jersey Shore. Even though the high of that day was about 40 degrees, Erin still somehow managed to get a sunburn. Anyways, we were all taking turns playing our favorite CDs, and when it came Erin's turn, she all too quickly whipped out her 1989 Taylor Swift album. The entire car groaned, but Erin just ignored the comments and jammed to that entire CD. You see, Erin had put up with my classic country and Jenna and Alex's alternative rock without a single complaint. And when it came her turn, she had no problems blasting T-Swift no matter what the rest of the car thought. Erin has always had this incredible ability to listen to and truly respect the opinions of others while simultaneously standing firm in whatever she is passionate about. Whether she's rocking out to a much-hated Taylor Swift song, ordering her favorite meal, grilled cheese sandwich, at a steakhouse, or explaining CDEs to a group of unenthused freshmen, Erin is capable of sticking up for the things she loves, no matter what the masses say. I know Erin will always have a part in FFA, and that the entire organization is lucky to have this fearlessly wonderful person to back them up. New York State FFA, I present to you your 2015-2016 reporter, Erin Langdale.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! You know I need someone. Help! When I was younger, so much younger than today, I never needed anybody's help in any way. But now these days are gone and I'm not so self-assured. Now I find I've changed my mind. I'll open up the door.
Redheads. We're so rare, we're basically the unicorns of humankind. Growing up with red hair is definitely an experience that influences you as a person. Every redheaded nickname, I've been called it. Ginger, copper top, carrot head, you name it. But I wouldn't trade my ginger hair for anything. And honestly, there's a lot of really awesome people in this elite 2% of the world's population. There's Miss Frizzle, Adele, the Weasley family, and even Ronald McDonald. But if you ask me who I've always thought the most influential redhead of all time was, I would without a doubt say little orphan Annie. Right? Annie was the original redheaded icon with her spunk and cleverness. As a kid, I never truly understood the hard knock life Annie had, but what I did know was that I wanted to be just like her. If I was Annie, I would get to sing and dance all day long. I mean, what more could you ask for in life? Well, when I was 10, I had the opportunity to temporarily live her life when I was cast as her character in the world-famous Park Avenue Elementary School's production of Annie. Funny for you, kind of embarrassing for me. I think the reason I loved and still continue to love Annie come down to who she was as a person, and the fact that even beyond the crazy curly red hair, she was still a lot like me. The way Annie related to my life the most was how independent she was. Annie and I prided ourselves in our ability to take on the world alone, even when sometimes it was too big for us to handle. For Annie and I, our independence would hold us back from accepting the help that was offered to us, and in the long run, keep us from the entire picture of a brighter, sunnier tomorrow. Now that I think about it, maybe another reason that I wanted to be Annie so badly was because she never seemed to be stuck in math class. Ever since I was able to comprehend what math was, I hated it. By the time I reached 10th grade geometry, I had already accepted the inevitable fact that I was going to do horrible in the class before the first day even came. On that first day, I met Mr. Mark. And I didn't know it then, but Mr. Mark was going to change the way I felt about math and so much more. As the year went on, I predictably started to struggle in math, and as my grades sunk, so did my confidence. I I tried to ignore my grades and refused to ask for help. I figured that I struggled in math long enough, so what was the point of even trying to succeed? It wasn't until I finally asked for the help I so desperately needed from Mr. Mark that I reached my initial goal of getting my grades up, but Mr. Mark taught me so much more than what was on the next test. If I told you everything Mr. Mark taught me, I could probably talk for this entire convention, so I'll share the most important thing I learned with you. Mr. Mark told me to not be afraid to ask for help. He taught me to not let past failures or defeats hold you back from asking questions. Mr. Mark made me realize that asking for help is a part of who we are, and it's what makes us human. Realizing and accepting the fact that we need help is not that simple, and it doesn't happen in an instant. Think about it. Why did I refuse to ask for help in math, even though I knew I was struggling? It's because for some reason, there's a stigma associated with asking for help. Sometimes in the moments where we feel as if we need help the most, we feel as if it's pointless, or that it's never going to get any better, or that somehow we are less than or stupid when we ask for help. But just like Mr. Mark taught me, asking for help is what makes us human. We have to push past the negativity and the stigma and realize the importance of advocating for ourselves, because if we don't, we will never receive the help we need. When we don't ask for help, we immediately stop the opportunity to grow from new experiences and perspectives right in its tracks. Realizing and accepting the fact that we need help does not happen in an instant, and it's so much more complicated than we realize. Once we receive help, we need to accept it, apply it, and use it. I know that seems pretty simple, because why would we ask for help if we don't use it? But sometimes we find ourselves in situations where it's a little bit more complex. How many of you guys have ever taken a hearing test? You know, the ones where you wear the huge, uncomfortable headphones for about 5 minutes, and you raise your hand every time you hear a buzz or a beep? Well, when I was a kid, those machines always must have been broken or something, because I could never hear the sounds coming into the headphones. Or at least, I thought they were broken. You see, when you're in 5th grade, you don't think the lack of sound in a hearing test is coming from your end. I mean, only old people can't hear, right? Well, apparently, I'd been misinformed. I was sent to an audiologist completely clueless as to why I was there. For all I knew, they just sent me to another doctor because he had machines that actually worked. But this time, they gave me a hearing test that seemed to last for hours. When the exam finally ended, the audiologist said the words that changed my life forever. Erin is going to need hearing aids. In that moment, I didn't quite know how, but I knew my life was going to change. I didn't realize that hearing aids amplify the sound of everything around you, including what your brain once filtered out as background noise. And it's very difficult to navigate in certain situations. With the world's volume turned up and the view turned upside down, things weren't looking too good for me. These tiny little things, almost insignificant in size, had consumed my entire being and became my arch nemesis. I fell into the stigma of feeling less than because of the bits and pieces of conversation I missed when I wasn't wearing my hearing aids, and I felt like a burden for my discomfort and negativity when I was wearing them. I felt like a burden for my discomfort and negativity when I was wearing them. I spent so long trying to focus on the negatives that my hearing aids caused me, then I neglected to realize how they could help me in the long run. It wasn't until this summer at Camp Oswegatchie where I really started to accept the help that I'd been ignoring for years. This summer, I spent 3 awesome weeks at camp where I got to meet so many FFA members and had the opportunity to facilitate leadership workshops with my teammates. It was in those workshops where our mentor for the summer, Hawk Boys, realized how I had struggled hearing campers. He asked me if I could wear my hearing aids. Honestly, wearing my hearing aids was the last thing I wanted to do. And I had spent so long trying to keep the fact that I was hard of hearing on the down low that even the mention of my tiny arch nemesis was my kryptonite. It took me a while, but I realized that Hawk wasn't someone forcing me to wear my hearing aids just because he said so. He was someone who saw me struggling and offered a way to help me. I'm still not used to wearing my hearing aids all the time. In fact, this convention has kind of pushed that limit a little bit. But it's the conscious effort we put towards making a positive change after we've received help from someone that makes a bolder, louder imprint. I'm sure we've all had moments like this. Moments where we have to come down from our pride and look into the perspective of the person trying to help us. We have to see the genuine kindness of those who want to see us grow. Maybe it's our ag teachers editing a speech we love, even though we think every single part is important. Maybe it's our coaches who always seem to focus on our weaknesses, but in reality, only want us to get better. We can focus on the negativity and sit in self-pity about what we can't do, or we can focus on what we can do to change the course of where we are and flow in a positive direction. In the hardest of times, where the world seems to be crashing down at our feet, it's the way in which we change our mindset. It's when we change our perspective that can make us grow and spread our roots through the rubble around us. It's when Annie accepts the help and the love from the people around her that her life begins to change. When Annie first arrives at Oliver Warbucks' house, it takes her time to adjust to the kindness and the help that she was given. Of all of the adventures Annie had, her happy ending might not have happened if she never accepted help. These happy endings don't just happen on the big screen, but it's in those real life moments where we overcome the challenges we face that are the most cinematic. It's the genuine pride and excitement that comes across that doesn't require fancy Hollywood productions or acting lessons. All it takes is applying help to our lives. Throughout our lives, there are people who inspire us. They take us from our lowest moments to our greatest accomplishments. We are all in this crazy, wonderful, magical thing called life together. And it's pretty safe to say that we all get by with a little help from our friends.
Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Do you need anybody? I need somebody to love. Could it be?
Erin, this year you have shown true dedication for our organization. Whether it was picking the perfect song for long car rides or turning an ordinary paragraph into the perfect story, your passion has truly shown. Thank you for everything that you've done this year, and most importantly, thank you for being yourself. It's definitely safe to say that we've gotten by with a little help from you, our friend, this year. This isn't goodbye forever, it's only goodbye for now. No matter how many miles separate us, we will always have these memories to hold on to wherever we go. Team Spa Day forever, Kayla, Trisha, Sarah, Lindsay, and Emma Rose. Ladies and gentlemen, for the last time, your 2015-2016 state reporter, Erin Langdale.
Somebody to love. Would you believe in a love at first sight? Yes, I'm